Hi, this is Dr. Roy Kim. Your favorite Dr. Kim is going to be talking to you about breast implants. So we're going to be going over everything regarding breast implants. This includes the envelope or shell, the filler material, the profiles, the way they feel, and more. First thing we're going to talk about are breast implant shells. So the implants actually come with an envelope or shell. Saline implants and silicone implants actually have similar shells, but they're not quite identical. With saline implants, the shell is typically smooth and it's empty. So I have to put it into you, the patient, and then I have to fill it with salt water or saline solution. They're FDA approved, nothing wrong with it, but we'll describe and I'll explain why I'm not a huge fan of that. Next up are silicone implants. Again, similar outside shell, but they come pre-filled. I cannot add or subtract any volume to that silicone gel implant. It is what it is. I can't add anything or subtract anything. In general, between the two, I strongly prefer silicone because it has a more natural feel. In other words, when you squeeze it or when it's moving, it feels more natural in a patient. Nothing wrong with saline. It's FDA approved, except it doesn't move as naturally. It doesn't feel as natural when you're squeezing it, which is why I don't really love saline implants. Next up, gummy bear implants. So this is a consumer term which came out when silicone implants were reintroduced to the US market. Basically, all silicone implants are gummy bear implants. So there's no marketing term, there's no company that owns the phrase gummy bear implant. Rather, the candy gummy bear, that's sort of the feel of silicone implants, and they do have implants that feel a little softer, similar in firmness, whatever, but that's essentially what a silicone gel implant feels like. If you're going to ask for a gummy bear implant, I'm going to say yes, that's a silicone gel implant, but it's not related to a specific manufacturer. Next up is a smooth or textured shell implant. So you may remember that the envelope is the outer shell, the envelope of the actual implant, but we have smooth versus textured ones. Smooth implants are smooth. Textured shell implants use various technologies, so there's a mildly rough and pebbly surface. Now, it's not that rough, it's not that pebbly, but you can definitely feel that there is a difference with your bare fingers. So why did they make textured shell implants? Well, when they came out with implants originally, they were all round. Now, if they're teardrop shape or anatomic shape, in theory, that should look a little more natural. So they made smooth implants that were teardrop shape or anatomic shape. Well, then they discovered that if you turn them upside down, or if they rotate in your body upside down, you have the thicker portion at the top and the thinner portion at the bottom. And that's an unnatural look, obviously, for breast augmentation. And they thought, how do we stop this problem? How do we stop these implants from rotating? Well, what you do is you create a textured shell surface around the actual implant shell. Your body latches on, holds on to the actual shell, and prevents the implant from rotating. So that way the thinner portion stays at the top, the thicker portion stays at the bottom. Rarely, though, it's related to a very rare type of lymphatic cancer. So this is why one company's implants were removed from the market in the US. And there's still two companies that make textured shell implants, teardrop shape or anatomic shape. And they use a different technology, which is why they're still allowed in the US. But frankly, I don't know of anybody who's really using them. I never really got into this whole trend. I never really believed in the textured shell implant technology. So fortunately, I really don't have patients who I've had to remove or recommend removing those textured shell implants. Smooth shell implants are, as sort of what I said, they're smooth. So they can only be used for round implants, but frankly, you don't care if they rotate because since they're round, they're always the same shape. I think the other hint, especially as someone who's been doing this for a long time, the correct round implant, when you stand up or sit up, actually becomes thinner at the top, thicker at the bottom, generates a more natural look in your body. So this is why I think that there's not a huge choice to make. I would definitely recommend smooth versus textured shell implants. Next up are profiles. So we all know that the more volume you have, the larger the implant. 200 cc's, 300 cc's, 400 cc's. The larger the number, the more volume you have. But we as plastic surgeons care about profile a lot. Profile is sort of a catch-all phrase. It really describes the implant, how wide it is on your rib cage and breast, and how prominent or thick it is away from your rib cage or breast. So why is profile so important? When implants first came out, they only had one profile. Over time, they developed three. Well, now they have 7 with one manufacturer, 6 with another. So what does that mean to you? I think the simplest way I can explain it is with Starbucks cups. So when you go to Starbucks, you cannot order an extra small, medium, or large. That's illegal. You'll get thrown out. You can only order, let's see, a short, a tall, a grande, and a venti. So obviously don't ask me where they came up with these names, and no, Starbucks is not sponsoring this video. It has anything to do with breast implants. However, the marketing department decided to give marketing names to various volume sizes of Starbucks cups. Breast implant companies, I think they may have hired the same marketers, and they have these crazy names. You cannot order sort of like a small, medium, large implant, or you can order like small thickness, small plus, medium thickness, medium plus, large thickness, large plus implant. Again, that's illegal. They call them names like moderate classic, moderate plus boost, moderate plus enhanced, high profile, ultra high profile, and names that, to be honest, don't mean much. I think what you want to focus on is, hey, Dr. Kim and any other plastic surgeon you see will focus on the profile, but it has to be tailored to your body. I can get 10 women, your height and weight, but your rib cage and your bony measurements are all going to vary. You're going to have a slightly wider rib cage or slightly more narrow rib cage. You may have more breast tissue or less breast tissue. You may have more loose skin or less loose skin around the breast, and so on. Those measurements are critical to developing and for me to recommend the proper profile for you. I can't really say, hey, gaining 10 pounds or losing 10 pounds is going to affect your profile. To be honest, gaining or losing 10 pounds is not going to affect your rib cage width. It's not going to affect your breast width diameter. So it's not a measure of fitness. It's not a measure of weight proportionate to height necessarily. It's more a relationship of, okay, what measurements do you have? And let me figure out what best profile it is for you after you sort of figure out what volume or overall result that you want. I do have to take a lot of measurements, but what I'm trying to do is tailor a breast implant that fits your breast width. If the implant, for example, you love 300 cc's, well, 300 cc's typically comes in 5, 6, 7 different profiles. In other words, 5, 6, 7 different widths or different thicknesses. I want to deliver an implant that fits your breast width. If it's too wide, it won't fit. It may touch in the middle. If the implant width is too narrow, yes, your breast can accommodate it, but there's too much of a gap in the middle where the cleavage area is, and that's not good. It has to be just right for you. Finally, there's the way the breast implant feels. A couple years ago, there's really only one type of silicone gel filler, and it was pretty soft. It was nice and natural. Well, now the manufacturers have come up with a couple different cohesive gel options. In other words, they've come up with silicone gel implants that feel a little more firm. So they have pretty soft, medium, and firm. So why is this good for you? Because you have more choice, obviously. But if you want a more cleavage look, or you want to have sort of more support all the time, then I would recommend the filler material that has more oomph, more support. Now, it doesn't look and feel as natural in my opinion, because if you think about it, it's actually not natural to have cleavage all the time with no support, no underwire bra, something of that nature. Rather, breasts naturally sort of fall down and fall apart slightly with little to no support. And that is a natural feel. With the implants that are the most firm that they currently make, it looks great. I mean, it looks like a beautiful breast all the time aesthetically. But that's sort of like having a beautiful, slightly cleavage to a lot of cleavage look all the time. And as we know, that's not really how breasts operate. That's not really how breasts look like with no support. The choice is up to you, of course, because it depends on your aesthetic. And of course, again, I may sound a little vague, but it depends on your anatomy. It depends on how much breast tissue you have. It depends on a lot of different issues. So the more volume we have to fill at the top of your breast, yes, we may want an implant that has a little more robust gel. It's a little more firm, and everybody is different. So one of my mentors has always said, the anatomy is always the same, but every patient's different. And I strongly believe in that. So the great thing about all these breast implants, the profiles, the filler material, the smooth versus textured shell, the round versus anatomic shape, and so on. It gives you, the patient, more options. So I hope this video helps you, because even though there are a lot of options, we've sort of touched on what these options mean. And now I hope you're a little more educated as to what exact options you want for your breast surgery. If you have any questions, if you want more videos or different ideas for more videos, please let me know. Thanks so much for watching.